Orphanage owner tears up a girl's letter. What happens next shocks the entire town. The air inside the orphanage was heavy and cold, even in the warmth of spring. The dimly lit corridors carried the muffled echoes of children's footsteps as they moved quickly and quietly, careful not to draw attention to themselves. Ms. Priscilla, the headmistress of the orphanage, demanded absolute silence and obedience. Her sharp heels clicked against the wooden floors, a warning sign for the children to stay out of her way. In one of the small rooms tucked at the end of the hallway, Anna sat hunched over a tiny desk, her pencil moving steadily across a piece of paper. The faint light from the window illuminated her focused expression as she poured her thoughts onto the page. The letter was the same as all the others she had written, full of hope, longing, and a desperate plea for connection. "Dear grandmother," she wrote, her handwriting small but careful. "I hope this letter finds you. My name is Anna, and I think I might be your granddaughter. I was left at this orphanage many years ago, and I don't remember much about my family, but I remember your voice. Please, if this is you, write back. I think about you every day. Love, Lieutenant." Her heart ached as she finished the letter, folding it neatly and tucking it into a makeshift envelope. She glanced around the room, making sure no one was watching. This letter, like so many others before it, was a secret, a fragile hope she couldn't let Ms. Priscilla destroy. The sound of approaching footsteps made Anna's heart leap. She quickly slid the letter under her mattress and sat back on her chair, pretending to study the worn-out book in front of her. The door creaked open, and Ms. Priscilla's stern face appeared in the doorway. "Anna," she said, her voice cold and clipped. "What are you doing?" "Studying, ma'am," Anna replied, keeping her gaze low. Ms. Priscilla's eyes narrowed as she scanned the room. Her presence was oppressive, and the air seemed to grow colder with every passing second. "Good. Keep it that way," she said before shutting the door. Anna let out a shaky breath, her hands trembling slightly. She couldn't let Ms. Priscilla find the letter. The headmistress had made it clear long ago that any attempts to contact the outside world were strictly forbidden. The punishment for breaking that rule was severe. Later that evening, as the other children settled into their beds, Anna lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Her mind raced with thoughts of her grandmother. Did she even exist? Was she still alive? The hope that kept Anna going felt like a fragile thread, but it was all she had. "Anna," a whisper came from the bed next to hers. It was Lucy, a younger girl with big, curious eyes. "Did you write another letter?" Anna turned her head, her voice barely audible. "Yes. Do you think she'll get it this time?" Lucy asked, her tone filled with quiet hope. "I don't know," Anna admitted. "But I have to try." Lucy nodded, her small face solemn. "You're brave, Anna. I wish I could be like you." Anna reached out and squeezed Lucy's hand. "You're brave too. We all are, just for being here." The next morning, Anna woke early, slipping out of bed before the other children stirred. She retrieved the letter from under her mattress and tucked it into her pocket. Her heart pounded as she made her way to the kitchen, where Martha, the orphanage's cook, was preparing breakfast. "Martha," Anna whispered, glancing over her shoulder to make sure no one was listening. "Can you help me?" The older woman looked up from her work, her kind eyes meeting Anna's. Martha had always been one of the few sources of comfort in the orphanage, her gentle demeanor a stark contrast to Ms. Priscilla's harshness. "What is it, child?" Martha asked softly. Anna hesitated, pulling the letter from her pocket. "I need to send this. Please. It's important." Martha's expression turned wary as she wiped her hands on her apron. "Anna, you know the rules. If Ms. Priscilla finds out..." "She won't," Anna said quickly. "I'll be careful. Please, Martha. This is my only chance." The older woman sighed, her heart breaking for the girl in front of her. She had seen too many children's spirits crushed by the orphanage's oppressive rules. "All right," she said finally. "I'll see what I can do." Anna's face lit up with gratitude. "Thank you, Martha. Thank you so much." Martha took the letter and slipped it into her apron pocket, her mind already racing with ways to get it out of the orphanage without raising suspicion. Days passed, and Anna waited anxiously for any sign that her letter had reached its destination. She watched Martha closely during mealtimes, searching for a hint of reassurance. The older woman gave her small, fleeting nods, but said nothing. Anna knew they couldn't risk being overheard. Meanwhile, Ms. Priscilla grew increasingly suspicious. She had noticed the way Anna carried herself with a quiet determination, as if she were holding onto a secret. The headmistress's sharp eyes followed Anna wherever she went, searching for any hint of defiance. One afternoon, as the children played outside, Miss Priscilla called Anna into her office. The room was dark and oppressive, with heavy curtains blocking out the sunlight. Anna stood nervously in front of the large oak desk, her hands clasped tightly together. "Anna," Ms. Priscilla said, her voice low and menacing. "Is there something you'd like to tell me?" "No, ma'am," Anna replied, her voice steady despite the fear churning inside her. Ms. Priscilla leaned forward, her piercing gaze fixed on the girl. "I don't tolerate secrets in my orphanage. If I find out you've been breaking the rules, you will regret it. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma'am," Anna said, her stomach twisting. "Good," Ms. Priscilla said, leaning back in her chair. "You may go." Anna left the office, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew she had to be more careful than ever. Unbeknownst to Anna, her letter had indeed made it out of the orphanage, thanks to Martha's resourcefulness. It found its way to a small mailbox on the outskirts of town, where it was picked up by the local postman. The journey was long, but eventually it reached its destination, a modest cottage on the edge of the countryside. Inside the cottage, an elderly woman sat by the window, her hands busy with knitting. Her name was Margaret, and she had spent years mourning the loss of her family. When she opened the letter and read Anna's words, her hands began to tremble. Tears streamed down Margaret's face as she clutched the letter to her chest. "Anna," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "My sweet Anna." Without hesitation, Margaret began making preparations to visit the orphanage. She couldn't believe that her granddaughter had been so close all these years, reaching out to her in desperation. Margaret knew she had to act quickly to bring Anna home. The following morning, Margaret set out for the orphanage with the letter clutched tightly in her hand. Her heart raced with a mixture of anger and determination. How could such a heartfelt plea have gone unanswered for so long? What had been happening to Anna all these years? She stopped at the local bakery on her way, a place that was always buzzing with town gossip. As she waited for her order, Margaret couldn't help but share her story with the baker, a kind woman named Edith. "My granddaughter," Margaret said, her voice trembling. "She's been in that orphanage for years, writing to me, and I had no idea." Edith's brow furrowed. "Priscilla's orphanage, you mean? That place has always given me a bad feeling." Margaret nodded. "I'm going there today to bring her home. No child deserves to be treated the way I suspect she has been." The conversation caught the attention of several other customers, and soon a small crowd had gathered, murmuring about the infamous Ms. Priscilla and the rumors of her cruelty. By the time Margaret left the bakery, word had already begun to spread. At the orphanage, Anna was busy helping Martha in the kitchen when Ms. Priscilla burst in, her face flushed with anger. The headmistress held up a scrap of paper, the envelope Anna had hidden under her mattress. "Care to explain this?" Ms. Priscilla demanded, her voice cutting through the room like a knife. Anna froze, her mind racing. How had Ms. Priscilla found it? She glanced at Martha, who quickly stepped forward. "That's just an old note," Martha said, her voice calm but firm. "It's nothing important." Ms. Priscilla's eyes narrowed. "I'll decide what's important." She turned her gaze back to Anna. "What are you hiding from me, girl?" "I'm not hiding anything," Anna said, her voice trembling. Ms. Priscilla stepped closer, towering over the young girl. "You think you can defy me? You think you can go behind my back?" She crumpled the envelope in her hand. "I will not tolerate this kind of behavior." Before she could say more, the sound of voices outside caught her attention. Ms. Priscilla frowned, marching toward the front door to investigate. Margaret stood at the gate, surrounded by a small group of townspeople who had followed her from the bakery. Their presence was a quiet but powerful statement of support, and Margaret felt emboldened by their solidarity. Ms. Priscilla opened the gate, her expression shifting to one of feigned politeness. "Good morning," she said, her tone syrupy but insincere. "How can I help you?" "I'm here for my granddaughter," Margaret said, her voice steady. She held up the letter. "Anna." Ms. Priscilla's eyes flicked to the letter, and for a brief moment, her mask slipped. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding," she said quickly. "There's no child here by that name." Margaret stepped forward, her anger simmering just beneath the surface. "Don't lie to me. This letter is proof. Anna is here, and I will not leave without her." The murmurs of the townspeople grew louder, their suspicion of Ms. Priscilla growing by the second. The headmistress glanced around nervously, realizing that she was losing control of the situation. "I'll have to ask you to leave," Ms. Priscilla said, her voice sharp. "This is private property." "No," Margaret said firmly. "I'm not leaving until I see Anna." The tension was palpable as the two women faced off. Finally, one of the townspeople, a burly man named Tom, stepped forward. "Let the girl come out," he said. "If you've got nothing to hide, you won't mind." Ms. Priscilla hesitated, her mind racing for a way to regain control. But before she could respond, the door behind her opened, and Anna stepped out, her eyes wide with shock. "Grandmother," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Margaret's breath caught in her throat. "Anna," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Oh, my sweet girl." The crowd parted as Margaret rushed forward, enveloping Anna in a tight embrace. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. All the years of separation, the unanswered letters, and the pain melted away in that single moment of connection. The scene might have ended there, but Anna's courage reignited as she stood in her grandmother's arms. She looked up at Margaret, then turned to face the crowd. "She's been tearing up our letters," Anna said, her voice growing stronger. "Not just mine, all of ours. She's kept us from our families, from the people who love us." The crowd gasped, and whispers spread like wildfire. Several children peeked out from behind the orphanage windows, their faces pale and frightened. It was clear that Anna's words had struck a nerve. Margaret tightened her hold on Anna, her protective instincts kicking in. "Is this true?" she demanded, glaring at Ms. Priscilla. The headmistress faltered, her usual confidence crumbling under the weight of the accusations. I was only trying to protect them," she stammered. "It's for their own good." "Protect them?" Margaret said, her voice filled with disbelief. "You've kept them prisoners, cut off from their families and their futures. How is that protection?" The crowd began to grow restless, their anger directed squarely at Ms. Priscilla. Tom stepped forward again, his expression dark. "I think it's time someone else took over this place. Someone who actually cares about these kids." Cheers erupted from the crowd, and Ms. Priscilla shrank back, realizing that her reign of terror was coming to an end. Over the next few days, the orphanage underwent a dramatic transformation. Ms. Priscilla was removed from her position, and an investigation was launched into her misconduct. The townspeople rallied together to provide support for the children, ensuring that they felt safe and cared for. Margaret stayed by Anna's side every step of the way, determined to make up for the years they had lost. She worked tirelessly to ensure that Anna and the other children had everything they needed, from warm clothes to proper meals. For the first time in years, the orphanage was filled with laughter and hope. Anna's story spread quickly, inspiring others to stand up against injustice. Families who had lost contact with their children began to come forward, reconnecting with the loved ones they thought they had lost forever. The orphanage, once a place of fear and isolation, became a symbol of resilience and community. Margaret and Anna became beloved figures in the town, their bonds serving as a reminder of the power of love and perseverance. Though their journey had been difficult, it had brought them closer together and sparked a change that would be felt for generations. As the weeks turned into months, Anna found herself surrounded by a family she had never dreamed possible. Not just her grandmother, but the entire town had embraced her, offering her the love and support she had longed for. And through it all, she never stopped writing letters, not out of desperation, but out of gratitude. Her words carried the message of hope and courage to others, ensuring that the light she had found would continue to shine. The days after Ms. Priscilla's removal were some of the most transformative the orphanage had ever seen. For the first time, sunlight poured into the halls where children once moved like shadows. The oppressive atmosphere had lifted, replaced by an air of hope and renewal. Yet, The damage done by years of neglect and cruelty couldn't be undone overnight. Anna, though now reunited with her grandmother, refused to leave the orphanage right away. "I can't go yet," she told Margaret one evening as they sat by the fire in Margaret's cozy home. "The other children, Lucy, Martha, everyone, they're still there. They need help just like I did." Margaret nodded, her expression both proud and understanding. "Then we'll help them together." The townspeople had rallied behind Margaret and Anna's cause. After hearing the children's stories of Ms. Priscilla's tyranny, they came together to restore the orphanage. Volunteers arrived daily to clean, repair, and repaint the building. What had once been a gray, crumbling structure now blossomed into a vibrant and welcoming home. Martha, the orphanage's cook, was one of the first to step forward and offer her services to the new leadership. Though she had always been kind to the children, she carried the guilt of having stayed silent for so long. "I should have done more," she confessed to Margaret one day as they worked together to sort donations. "I saw what she was doing, but I was too scared to stop her." "You did what you could," Margaret said gently. "You helped Anna get her letter out, and that made all the difference. Now we have a chance to make things right." Martha nodded, a determined look in her eyes. "I won't let those children down again." Meanwhile, Anna found herself stepping into an unexpected role as a leader among the children. They looked up to her not just because she had spoken out, but because she understood their pain. Lucy, in particular, clung to Anna like a lifeline. "Do you think I'll ever have a family too?" Lucy asked one evening as they sat together in the dormitory. Her voice was small, almost afraid to hope. "You already do," Anna said, wrapping an arm around her. "All of us here, we're a family. And now that things are changing, we'll make sure no one ever feels alone again." Lucy's eyes brightened, and for the first time in a long while, she smiled. As the weeks passed, new leadership was appointed to oversee the orphanage. The position went to a woman named Clara, a kind and compassionate social worker who had dedicated her life to helping children. From the moment she stepped through the doors, it was clear that things were going to be different. Clara met with each child individually, listening to their stories and reassuring them that their voices mattered. She also worked closely with Margaret and Anna, seeking their input on how to create a safe and nurturing environment. "We're going to need programs for the kids," Clara said during one of their meetings. "Activities that help them build confidence and heal from what they've been through." Anna thought for a moment. "What about writing?" she suggested. "It helped me get through the worst times." "Maybe it could help them too." Clara smiled. "That's a wonderful idea. We could start a writing club where the kids can express themselves and share their stories." Margaret beamed with pride at her granddaughter. "You're wise beyond your years, Anna." The writing club quickly became one of the most popular activities at the orphanage. Children who had once been too afraid to speak began to pour their thoughts and feelings onto paper. Anna helped lead the sessions, encouraging her peers to write about their dreams, fears, and hopes for the future. One day, as they gathered in the newly renovated common room, Lucy shared a story she had written about a brave knight who stood up to an evil queen. Though the story was fictional, its meaning was clear, and the other children clapped and cheered for her. "You're an amazing storyteller, Lucy," Anna said, hugging her tightly. "Don't ever stop sharing your voice." Lucy's cheeks turned pink with pride. "It's because of you, Anna. You showed me how to be brave." Outside the orphanage, the story of Anna's letter and the subsequent changes continued to spread. Journalists from nearby towns came to interview Margaret, Anna, and the children, eager to share their inspiring tale with a wider audience. "It's not just about one letter," Anna said during one interview. "It's about standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. Everyone deserves to feel safe and loved." Her words resonated deeply, and donations began pouring in from people who wanted to support the orphanage's transformation. With the newfound resources, Clara was able to expand the programs and services offered to the children, including art classes, therapy sessions, and field trips. For many of the children, it was the first time they had experienced true joy and freedom. Ms. Priscilla, meanwhile, faced the consequences of her actions. The investigation into her conduct revealed years of neglect and financial mismanagement, as well as her deliberate efforts to isolate the children from their families. She was stripped of her position and barred from working with children ever again. Though justice had been served, Anna couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness when she thought about Ms. Priscilla. "Do you think she was always like this?" she asked Margaret one evening as they walked through the park. Margaret sighed, her gaze thoughtful. "I don't know, dear. Sometimes, people let their pain and bitterness consume them. But that doesn't excuse what she did. She had the power to help those children, and she chose not to." Anna nodded, resolving to use her own experiences as a source of strength rather than anger. As the months turned into a year, the orphanage became a beacon of hope for the entire community. Families who had once been reluctant to adopt now saw the children in a new light, recognizing their resilience and potential. Lucy was among the first to be adopted, joining a loving family who promised to give her the care and support she deserved. Though saying goodbye was bittersweet, Anna knew it was the best thing for her friend. "You'll always be my sister," Anna told Lucy as they hugged tightly. "No matter where we are, we'll always have each other." Lucy nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'll write to you every week." For Anna, the journey came full circle when Clara approached her with a special opportunity. "Margaret and I have been talking," Clara said. "We think you'd make an incredible youth ambassador for the orphanage. You could share your story and help inspire others to support children in need." Anna's eyes widened. "Me? But I'm just a kid." "You're much more than that," Clara said, smiling warmly. "You're a leader, Anna. And the world needs to hear your voice." With Margaret's encouragement, Anna agreed to take on the role. Over the next several months, she traveled to schools, community centers, and even conferences, sharing her story and advocating for children's rights. Though she missed the quiet comfort of home, Anna found fulfillment in knowing that she was making a difference. Her bravery and resilience had sparked a movement, one that would continue to grow long after she returned to her grandmother's side. As the years passed, the orphanage thrived under Clara's leadership, becoming a model for other institutions to follow. The children who had once lived in fear now flourished, their lives transformed by the love and support they had received. For Anna, the lessons she had learned during her time at the orphanage stayed with her forever. She had discovered the power of her voice, the strength of community, and the importance of fighting for what was right. And though her journey had begun with a single letter, it had become so much more, a testament to the enduring power of hope and the boundless possibilities of love. As the years unfolded, Anna's story became more than just an inspiration for her community. It evolved into a symbol of what could be achieved when people stood together against injustice. The orphanage, now renamed Hope Haven, had undergone a complete transformation. No longer a place of fear and isolation, it was filled with laughter, love, and opportunity. Children thrived under the care of Clara, Martha, and the many volunteers who had dedicated themselves to ensuring a brighter future for every orphan who entered its doors. Anna's role as a youth ambassador took her far beyond her small town. Invitations poured in from organizations across the country, all eager to hear her story and learn from the reforms she and her grandmother had sparked. Though she was still young, Anna carried herself with the poise and conviction of someone far older. She had seen firsthand the power of resilience and kindness, and she was determined to use her voice to bring about change wherever it was needed. One day, as Anna prepared to speak at a national conference on child welfare, she received an unexpected letter. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but as she opened the envelope, her breath caught in her throat. Inside was a brief but heartfelt note from none other than Lucy. "Dear Anna," it began, "I hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing to tell you that I've started school, and I've made so many new friends. My new parents are wonderful, and they say they're so proud of me. But I wanted you to know that none of this would have been possible without you. You showed me what it means to be brave, and I carry that with me every day. Thank you for being my sister, my friend, and my hero. Love, Lucy." Tears welled in Anna's eyes as she read the letter. She folded it carefully and placed it in her bag, knowing that Lucy's words would give her the strength she needed for her upcoming speech. The conference hall was packed with people from all walks of life: educators, social workers, policymakers, and community leaders. As Anna stepped onto the stage, the room fell silent. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding, and began to speak. "Good morning," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "My name is Anna, and I'm here to tell you a story. It's not just my story, but the story of countless children who, like me, have faced challenges that no child should ever have to endure." She spoke about her time at the orphanage, the cruelty of Ms. Priscilla, and the moment her letter had changed everything. She described the courage it took to speak out and the incredible support she had received from her grandmother, her friends, and her community. "But this isn't just a story about hardship," Anna continued. "It's a story about hope. About what happens when people come together to make a difference. About how love and kindness can transform lives." She paused, looking out at the sea of faces. "Every child deserves to feel safe, loved, and valued. It's up to all of us to make that a reality. Because when we lift up the most vulnerable among us, we all rise." The audience erupted into applause, and Anna felt a sense of pride and fulfillment she had never known before. She knew that her words had resonated, and she hoped they would inspire action. Back in her hometown, Hope Haven continued to thrive. Clara had implemented new programs that not only supported the children but also engaged the community. Workshops on parenting, mental health, and education were held regularly, fostering a sense of unity and shared responsibility. Martha, now officially the head caretaker, had found her calling in nurturing the children. She worked tirelessly to ensure that each child felt loved and supported, often staying up late to comfort those who struggled to sleep or offering words of encouragement to those who faced challenges at school. One evening, as Martha was tucking the younger children into bed, she found herself thinking about Anna. Though Anna had moved on to new opportunities, her presence was still deeply felt at Hope Haven. Her bravery had set the foundation for everything they had accomplished, and Martha knew that her legacy would continue to shape the orphanage for years to come. Meanwhile, Margaret had found a new sense of purpose in her role as a mentor and advocate. She had joined forces with other grandparents in the community, creating a network of support for families in need. Together, they worked to ensure that no child would ever feel as lost and alone as Anna had before her letter reached its destination. Margaret's bond with Anna had only grown stronger over the years. Though Anna's work often took her away from home, she always made time to visit her grandmother, bringing stories of her travels and the people she had met along the way. During one such visit, Margaret and Anna sat together on the porch, watching the sunset. "You've done so much," Margaret said, her voice filled with pride. "More than I ever could have imagined." Anna smiled, resting her head on her grandmother's shoulder. "I couldn't have done any of it without you. You believed in me when no one else did." Margaret kissed the top of Anna's head. "And I always will." As Anna grew older, her passion for advocacy only deepened. She went on to study social work in college, determined to dedicate her life to helping children in need. Her experiences at the orphanage had given her a unique perspective, and she used that knowledge to push for systemic changes that would protect vulnerable children and provide them with the opportunities they deserved. One of her proudest achievements came when she helped establish a national initiative to reform the foster care system. The program, inspired by the success of Hope Haven, emphasized community involvement, trauma-informed care, and the importance of family connections. It wasn't an easy journey, but Anna's determination never wavered. Years later, as Anna stood on the steps of Hope Haven, now an adult, she reflected on how far she had come. The orphanage, once a place of despair, was now a beacon of hope for the entire region. Children who had once been forgotten were now thriving, their laughter echoing through the halls. Anna's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps behind her. She turned to see Clara, now older but still radiating warmth and kindness. "Looking back at everything we've done?" Clara asked, smiling. Anna nodded. "It's hard to believe how much has changed." "It changed because of you," Clara said. "You showed everyone what was possible. You gave us hope." Anna felt a lump rise in her throat. "I didn't do it alone. It was all of us. Margaret, Martha, you, the community. None of this would have happened without everyone working together." Clara placed a hand on Anna's shoulder. "Maybe, but it started with your courage. Don't ever forget that." As Anna walked through the halls of Hope Haven one last time, memories flooded her mind. She saw the faces of the children she had grown up with, heard their laughter, and felt the love that had carried them through the darkest times. She stopped at the writing club's room, now filled with colorful drawings and stories pinned to the walls. Picking up a notebook, she flipped through its pages, smiling at the heartfelt words written by the children. One page caught her eye, a short poem written by one of the younger girls. Hope is a letter sent on the wind, a whisper that someone will answer. Hope is a voice that breaks the silence, a hand reaching out in the dark. Tears filled Anna's eyes as she read the words. Hope, she realized, wasn't just something she had found, it was something she had passed on. And as long as that hope remained, the light she had ignited would never fade. As the years turned to decades, Anna's name became synonymous with resilience and hope in her hometown and beyond. Hope Haven Orphanage was not only a haven for children but also a place where community members came together to ensure no child was ever forgotten again. The once broken building now stood as a testament to what could happen when people united for a common cause. Anna's life continued to evolve in unexpected ways. After completing her social work degree, she founded her own organization, Letters of Hope, inspired by her letter that had changed everything. The organization worked to connect children in orphanages and foster care with mentors, advocates, and potential families. It also created programs that allowed children to express themselves through art, writing, and public speaking, amplifying their voices in ways Anna wished she'd had as a child. Letters of Hope expands nationwide. With the initial success of Letters of Hope, Anna began traveling the country, giving speeches and building partnerships. She worked with local governments, nonprofit organizations, and communities to set up chapters in cities and towns across the United States. Each chapter was modeled after the success of Hope Haven, blending compassionate care with community-driven solutions. One memorable visit brought Anna to an orphanage in a rural area much like the one she had grown up in. The building was in disrepair, and the children were quiet and withdrawn. It reminded her of her darkest days at Ms. Priscilla's orphanage, and she felt an ache in her heart. Anna met with the children, sitting on the floor with them and sharing stories about her childhood. She told them about her letter to her grandmother and how it had changed her life. A boy named Caleb, who had been silent throughout her visit, suddenly spoke up. "Do you think, if I write a letter, someone will answer me too?" Anna smiled, her eyes softening. "I know they will," she said. "And even if it takes time, you'll always have people here who care about you." Caleb's small smile grew, and in that moment, Anna knew her work was making a difference. Anna's return to Hope Haven. One summer, Anna returned to Hope Haven for the first time in several years. She had stayed connected to Clara, Margaret, and Martha through letters and calls, but life had kept her too busy to visit in person. As she stepped through the familiar gates, memories flooded back. The cold winters, the stolen moments of joy, and the courage it had taken to stand up against Ms. Priscilla. The orphanage was thriving. Children were running and playing in the courtyard, their laughter echoing through the air. The once drab walls were now covered in bright murals painted by the children themselves. It was a place of life and light, far from the shadowed halls Anna had once known. Clara greeted her with open arms. Though older now, Clara's warmth and energy hadn't faded. "Anna," she said, beaming. "It's so good to have you back." "It's good to be back," Anna said, her voice thick with emotion. "I can't believe how much has changed." "Because of you," Clara reminded her. "This place wouldn't be what it is today without your bravery." A reunion with Lucy. As part of her visit, Anna organized a reunion for some of the children who had lived at the orphanage during her time there. She was especially excited to see Lucy, who had stayed true to her word and written regularly over the years. When Lucy arrived, Anna hardly recognized her. The shy, timid girl she had once known had grown into a confident young woman. Lucy embraced Anna tightly, her eyes brimming with tears. "I can't believe it's really you," Lucy said. "You look exactly the same." Anna laughed. "And you've grown into someone amazing. Tell me everything. How's your family? What are you doing now?" Lucy's face lit up as she shared stories about her adoptive family, her college studies in psychology, and her dream of becoming a counselor for children in foster care. "I want to help kids the way you helped me," Lucy said. "You showed me that being brave can change everything." Anna felt a swell of pride. "You're going to change so many lives, Lucy. I'm so proud of you." Margaret's legacy. Though Margaret had grown older and her health was beginning to decline, she remained deeply involved in the community. She had become a beloved figure in town, known for her wisdom and her tireless dedication to helping children. During Anna's visit, Margaret pulled her aside for a quiet moment together. They sat on the porch of Margaret's home, much as they had during Anna's teenage years. "I've been thinking about something," Margaret said, her voice soft but steady. "When I'm gone, I want you to take over my role here in the community." Anna's heart clenched at the thought of losing her grandmother, but she nodded. "Of course, grandmother. I'll make sure your legacy lives on." Margaret smiled, her eyes filled with love. "You've already made me so proud, Anna. I know you'll continue to do great things." The national spotlight. Anna's work with Letters of Hope soon gained national attention. She was invited to speak at major conferences and even appeared on television programs to share her story. Her message was simple but powerful: every child deserves a voice, and it's up to society to listen. One particularly impactful moment came during an interview on a widely watched morning show. The host, a charismatic woman named Diane, asked Anna what had kept her going during her darkest days. "My grandmother," Anna said without hesitation. "Even when I didn't know if she would ever read my letters, I wrote them because they gave me hope. And when she finally answered, it changed everything." Anna paused, her voice trembling slightly. "That's what I want every child to feel, that someone out there cares enough to listen, to answer, and to fight for them." The interview went viral, sparking a wave of donations and support for Letters of Hope. People from all walks of life reached out to Anna, offering their time, resources, and love to help her cause. A final goodbye. A few years later, Margaret passed away peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by family. Her funeral was a celebration of her life and the countless lives she had touched. The entire town came together to honor her memory, sharing stories of her kindness, strength, and unwavering love. For Anna, the loss was profound, but she found comfort in knowing that her grandmother's spirit lived on in everything she did. She dedicated the next chapter of her work to Margaret, naming a new program within Letters of Hope after her, Margaret's Promise, a fund that provided scholarships and resources for children transitioning out of foster care. Anna's legacy. By the time Anna reached her 30s, her work had impacted thousands of children and families across the country. Hope Haven had become a model for orphanages everywhere, and Letters of Hope continued to expand its reach. One day, as Anna visited a new chapter of the program, a young girl approached her with a shy smile. She held out a folded piece of paper. "I wrote this for you," the girl said. Anna unfolded the paper and read the words carefully. It was a thank you letter, written in simple but heartfelt language. "Dear Anna, thank you for helping kids like me. Because of you, I feel like I can do anything. You are my hero." Tears filled Anna's eyes as she hugged the girl tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're the reason I do this." Full circle. Years later, Anna stood once again at the gates of Hope Haven, this time with her own family by her side. She had adopted 2 children, both of whom had come from challenging circumstances. As she walked through the familiar halls, now filled with light and laughter, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. Her journey had come full circle. What had once been a source of pain and struggle was now a place of healing and hope. And though Anna's work was far from over, she knew that the seeds she had planted would continue to grow, spreading love and resilience to every corner of the world. As she watched her children run off to play with the other kids, Anna smiled. The future was bright, and she was ready to embrace it. As Anna's organization, Letters of Hope, flourished, so did the lives of the countless children it had touched. Each chapter of the program became a sanctuary, a place where vulnerable children could find their voices, their confidence, and ultimately, their paths to brighter futures. Anna had always been driven by the belief that no child should feel forgotten, and she was determined to see that vision realized. But as the years passed, Anna began to see that there was still so much more to be done. Though her work had created ripple effects of change across the country, systemic barriers continued to hinder progress for many children in foster care and orphanages. She knew she needed to think bigger, to challenge the systems that perpetuated inequality and neglect. The fight for policy reform. Anna began immersing herself in the world of policy and advocacy, meeting with lawmakers, attending hearings, and forming alliances with other organizations dedicated to child welfare. She understood that while her grassroots efforts had made a profound difference, true and lasting change required systemic reform. One of her first major initiatives was the Every Voice Counts Act, a piece of legislation aimed at ensuring children in foster care had access to resources like mental health support, education opportunities, and legal representation. Anna worked tirelessly to gather support for the bill, traveling to state capitals, holding town halls, and sharing her story with anyone who would listen. Her efforts gained traction when a video of her passionate testimony before Congress went viral. In the video, Anna spoke directly to the lawmakers in the room, her voice unwavering despite the weight of her words. "These children are not statistics," she said. "They are individuals with dreams, talents, and potential. They deserve more than to be shuffled through a broken system. They deserve a chance to thrive, to be seen, and to be heard. And it is our responsibility, no, our duty, to make that happen." The video struck a chord with millions of viewers, sparking a national conversation about the state of child welfare. Donations and letters of support poured into Letters of Hope, and advocacy groups across the country rallied behind Anna's cause. The community of hope. Back at Hope Haven, the orphanage continued to serve as a shining example of what was possible when compassion and community came together. Clara, though now retired, often visited to see the children and offer guidance to the new leadership team. Martha, ever devoted, remained a cornerstone of the orphanage, her love and care earning her the affectionate title of Grandma Martha among the children. One of the most profound transformations at Hope Haven was the creation of the Margaret Wing, named in honor of Anna's grandmother. The wing housed a library, a writing center, and a quiet space for children to reflect and create. It was a place of healing and inspiration, filled with the colorful drawings and heartfelt stories of the children who passed through its doors. Anna made it a point to visit Hope Haven at least once a year, often bringing her own children along to share in the experience. Her two adopted sons, Liam and Mateo, had quickly become beloved figures at the orphanage, their laughter and energy a reminder of the joy that now defined the space. During one visit, Anna sat in the Margaret Wing, surrounded by a group of children eager to share their latest stories. A girl named Ella, who had just turned 8, shyly handed Anna a piece of paper covered in carefully written sentences. "It's a story about you," Ella said, her cheeks turning pink. Anna read the story aloud, her voice catching as she realized the depth of Ella's words. The story painted Anna as a hero, a warrior who fought against darkness to bring light to children's lives. Though the tale was fictionalized, its heart was unmistakably real. "Thank you, Ella," Anna said, hugging the girl tightly. "This is the most beautiful gift I've ever received." As Letters of Hope continued to expand, Anna began receiving invitations to share her work on an international scale. She traveled to countries where orphanages faced even greater challenges, meeting with children, caregivers, and government officials to exchange ideas and resources. In one small village in South America, Anna visited an orphanage that had been struggling to provide basic necessities. The building was worn down, and the children's eyes reflected the weight of their hardships. Yet, despite their struggles, Anna saw resilience and potential in every child she met. She spent hours talking with the children, learning their names and listening to their stories. One boy, Mateo, shared his dream of becoming a teacher so he could help other children like himself. His determination reminded Anna of her younger self, and she resolved to do everything in her power to support him and others like him.